Hello, hello. Hello to my volunteers. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's Miss Katie with our parent volunteer meeting. All right, I'm going to wait until 8:15 so that I don't miss anybody coming in. Thanks for being here. And if you're watching on the replay, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. All right, it's just about time to get started. Glad to see you guys coming in. Hi, Tracy. Good to see you. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I'm going to give everyone just a minute to hop on in, and we'll start our meeting. So appreciate you guys coming out. Just got done with class. So drinking my water. All right. Let's make sure I'm going to check over here, make sure I'm coming in. There we go. Okay. Looks like we're on. Okay. Awesome. Hi, you guys. Hey, Amber. Good to see you. All right, everybody. So thanks so much for being here. If I have not had the pleasure of meeting you before or after class, but you've so graciously signed up to volunteer for the show, then nice to meet you. I'm Miss Katie, and I'm so excited about our show. And thank you again to everybody for volunteering, whether you're here with me now or whether or not you're watching on the replay. But I really appreciate it. And this meeting tonight is just to go over a few things so everybody feels comfortable about what their roles entail. Usually we have this meeting live after I get done with classes, but I didn't want to be rushed. The community center is closing pretty early tonight, so I don't think they had anything happening in the exercise room, so I think they were going to be done. And I didn't want to feel rushed. I want to make sure I can take anybody's questions and things like that. If you are watching this on our channel on the replay and you do have questions, then you can go ahead and email me and just let me know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with just my notes that I made for the meeting and just kind of go over some things. If you guys have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. Right when you have that question. I'm not going to actually save questions till the end because I feel like it'll be hard to scroll back through the chat and find what to answer. So go ahead and ask questions, and I'll keep my eye out and make sure I get to those. So the first thing I want to go over is a timeline. So we have two shows. We have a 5 p.m. and a 6:30. That'll be on Wednesday the 10th and Thursday the 11th. So I do have sort of a call time. I would like my volunteers to be there at 4:15. So I have volunteers come at about 4:15, and then I have my cast arrive at 4:30, and then the doors open to the show at 4:45, and the show begins at 5 o'clock. So we don't have a lot of downtime before the show, which works really good for our little ones. So again, for the 5 o'clock show, it would be a 4:15 call time for my volunteers, a 4:30 arrival for my cast, and then the show begin, or the doors open at 4:45 and a 5 o'clock show. So really, yeah, not too far ahead, but at the same time, I do like to have my volunteers there a little bit before the actual call time for the students, because that way you guys can arrive and sort of find your room, put your name tag on, see your list of students and things like that. So, and I will be sending you guys this information out in a follow-up email to this meeting. So you guys will get everything that I am letting you guys know, but I want to answer questions tonight. So now for the 6:30 show, it works the same. So for the volunteers, it would be a 5:45 call for the volunteers, and it would be a, let's see, 5:40. Sorry, I'm adjusting the times from last time. Yeah, 5:45 for the volunteers. The cast would come at 6 o'clock. The doors open at 6:15, and the show starts at 6:30. So that'll be sent out to you guys. So when you arrive to volunteer, we are in a few different rooms, but you would go to your room, look for the cast list. And if you're, for instance, volunteering for Storybook Ballet, for that show, it'll say Storybook Ballet, have a list of students with your name there. So that's where you arrive. I also have a volunteer table that has lineups of the show, and it also has your name tags as well. For ushers, I have a ticket table. So out in front of the auditorium, where we open the main double doors, and we have a table there, and it's usually got some little decorations on it, but that has a basket, and that basket is for when you take tickets, to put the tickets into the basket. It also on occasion might have some will call tickets left over. Usually all the tickets are picked up before the shows at the dress rehearsal, but occasionally I'll have somebody not be able to pick them up, or sometimes I have guests. Somebody will say, you know, could I have 2 tickets? And it's from the community center or the city of Chino Hills, and they might want to come. So I might put a couple tickets away for them. So there's sort of a little table in front of the doors for the ushers. That's where the ushers would meet. Get your name tags on. It's just a little hello, my name is. And then, basically there's a QR code. And so if you're an usher out in front, they put them on these little stands, the community center. And so that QR code is for our program. And there also is a pretty considerable line. So you will find that, and they set up stanchions. So the community center does all of that setup. They set up stanchions that wind around the lobby, stands for our QR code. And then basically the ushers, you are there, you get there early, you make sure that people are lining up in the actual line and maybe not starting a secondary line or lining up at the door. So making sure that the line is, you know, people are figuring out how to wait in line. And then while they're waiting in line, you can let everybody know, here's the QR code for the program. You know, they might ask where the restrooms are located, things like that. So that's an important job for the ushers. Then the doors open 15 minutes before the show starts, but I do advanced seating for wheelchairs or those that are have walkers and things like that. So they will come and find you guys, and I always let them in 10 minutes before, or I'm sorry, 20 minutes before. So everybody else can get in 15 minutes before. But before we open it to everybody, I let the those that need extra assistance with their seating come in, because they need to find a place to sit that's convenient for them and where they can be comfortable. So of course we do advanced seating for those that might need it. And then the general doors open, and everybody should have a ticket. I just have a basket, and you can just take tickets. It is general seating, so first come, first serve. As they come in to the auditorium, they can just find their own seats. One of the things that we have an issue with is that people are not supposed to be saving seats, and I did go over that. It is in the parent meeting. But if you see for some reason that somebody might, you know, rush to the front row and spread out jackets or, you know, things like that, if you could just kindly remind them that we're not allowed to save seats prior to the that person arriving, that would be great. I just want to keep everything really, you know, okay in the audience. And sometimes when, you know, it can be a little bit off-putting to, you know, get in the auditorium relatively quickly, but find that, you know, quite a few seats are already saved. So, you know, it's not a huge venue. So pretty much you can see from anywhere, but we just try to keep it real, you know, real chill in the house as we're doing the seating. So, you know, there's only so much front row, and some people do get disappointed, and some people may complain about, you know, their seating and things like that, but it's general seating, first come, first serve. And that's the best we can do. One thing I want to note for my ushers is that we do 2 shows in one night. We have the 5 and the 6:30. It's very important that at the end of the first show that we clear it out completely. So the show is generally about 35 minutes long, 35 to 40. And at the end, it's a lot of fun. The kids are taking pictures by the tree, and they've gotten show treats, and there's a really cool backdrop where they can take pictures. So we do at some point have to start asking everybody to make their way to the exits. I will get on the microphone and say, thank you for coming. We do have another seating tonight, so we'd like to ask that you can move into the lobby. They're more than welcome to just go outside the double doors, and they can hang out there as long as they want. But we do need to get the house cleared so that we can reset it. And what that entails is just basically making sure that there's not a ton of stuff all over. sometimes people will leave like water bottles. There's no paper program, which ends up being good because that would be really messy. But yeah, just there, if they've had candy wrappers or things like that. So we try to do a little sweep and we go through and just, take any of the trash out and line up the seats again if they've gotten moved around and things like that. So we like to reset the audience. Also, it's really not okay if we're asking people to wait in line and all come in together. They can't stay in the same seat. So if somebody has kids in the 5 o'clock and 6:30 and they're in the front row, it's really not fair if they just decide they want to stay there for both shows. So I know that's a hard thing. I've had to just tell everybody we've got to completely clear it and do a complete reseating to make it fair for everybody. What I suggest to them is that if it's super important that they are in the front of the line, then they need to get somebody there very early to stand in line, because by the time that they come with their student and drop them off, 15 minutes before showtime, 30 minutes before showtime, the line is quite long. So people definitely line up early for this. And I'm always there too. And I help clear the room. I get on the microphone, all that stuff. But I just like you guys to know kind of the flow of the show, the seating, get everybody out, close all the doors, clear it, and then we reseat again. So that's how we do that. For my backstage volunteers, you guys will arrive, go to the volunteer table, get your name tag on, and then the kids are in different rooms. So for instance, usually it ends up that like ballet and jazz end up meeting in the dance room, and it usually ends up that musical theater and hip hop end up meeting in the exercise room, which is right next door. So most of my parent volunteers will be in one of those two rooms, and again, you'll see on the door which groups belong in which room. Now, we also take up Sage, Cypress, and Willow conference rooms. Those are the smaller rooms down the hall across from the bathrooms. Now, those one of those conference rooms are for my adult dancers. One of those are for my high school age dancers who have many dances. And then Willow, generally Willow is for my adult dancers who do not have costume changes. So those are not, those are performers in the show, but the main rooms that you guys will be meeting your students in will be in the exercise room and in the dance room. So let's see. As far as what there's questions I've had before, you guys are welcome to wear whatever you like to wear for ushering. There is no and volunteering. Wear whatever you guys like. But I do like you guys to wear your name tag, because it's just a way of parents knowing that, okay, that says that that's a volunteer. It'll say your name, parent volunteer. So they know that you're somebody that they should be looking for. And then again, we'll be you guys should mainly look for the dance and exercise rooms as far as where to meet your students. And then we pretty much take over the whole community center that night. So we're in every room. And then drop off. So when your families come to drop off their student to you, you'll be meeting in either the dance or the exercise room. And it looks a little bit different than our spring show. We do a big spring show at Citrus College. So this is a little bit different. The idea of this drop off is that we're not going to be coming into those rooms and sort of camping out, as I call it. So when we're at our longer shows, I tell the kids, bring a backpack, have a beach towel, have a blanket, have some snacks with your name on it, have a toy, have, all of these things. At this show, we try to not do that. This is a shorter, quicker show. And if the kids are bringing tons of stuff and unpacking, it's sort of more trouble than it's worth. By the time that they were to put out their blanket and lay out their spread and be all set to go, they'd be lining up for the show. So it's much too quick a turnaround. What we really want to do is, as the kids are getting there, you're sort of checking to make sure that, okay, they've got their costume on, they've got their pink tights and their ballet slippers. If they, come in tennis shoes, you may want to ask that parent, oh, do they have their ballet slippers with them? We're checking to see if they've got their headpiece on, and just making sure that, everybody is finding your group. So finding the Wonka cast or finding the Candy Mountain ballerinas, things like that. So finding your group. And then we really don't want them to have much downtime. As soon as they get dropped off, it will be time to basically start lining them up in their lines. Now my older students know their lines and we practice them. For those that have maybe hip hop tots or storybook, you guys will get a lineup. so that you can help me line them up in their correct order. Yeah, so basically, because they're getting there so quick to the start of the show, we line the students up all through the industrial kitchen. That's how they enter into the Great Oak Hall, is through the kitchen. So we can fit usually 4 to 5 dances lined up in the kitchen and maybe one out in the hallway. So we like to get them lined up 5 dances deep, as I say. And so basically they're not in that room very long. They're just coming to the exercise room or the dance room to meet with the group, get in their lines, make sure we're all good to go, and then let's line up and let's go get in line. There are about 9 dances in the show. So because we can line up 5 dances, it's they really are not in those waiting rooms too long. So you may be surprised at how quick somebody comes and says, hey, it's time for Storybook to come on back, because that's the idea. We don't want them to have too much downtime, before the show. So that's what happens at drop off. Parents do need to leave. So it's just the volunteer parents that are allowed to stay. So we don't, we want them to drop them off, go find their seats in the auditorium. And then pretty much from there, now, if there is a parent, if you have a situation where a parent is trying to drop their student off and maybe the child doesn't want them to go, they might be nervous because it's show night. You may have to have an instant volunteer. And so that's if the child, maybe won't separate. Then what I usually suggest to that parent is you need to become an on-the-spot volunteer. So I always will have extra name tags and Sharpies at the volunteer table. But I can come to handle this situation as well. But just so you guys know my policy, you got to be one or the other. So you're either a parent who's in the auditorium watching until they can be picked up from the stage at the end, or a volunteer. But we don't want parents changing back and forth. It's not okay just to volunteer partially until your child's okay, and then switch. So one or the other is great. But if they do decide, what, I think she's going to want me here, then they can put on a name tag and then be with the group, and that's okay with me. And let's see. So students should be arriving in their first costume. So if they get there in street clothes, we want to get them changed real fast. In fact, if a parent is dropping off and they've got their costume on a hanger and their child's in street clothes, then you basically want to say, hey, run on over to the bathroom, get all changed and ready to go, and then come back in and check in with me. Because we want them to get to the volunteers completely ready, everything, the headpiece on, everything. All that stuff, we go over that at the dress rehearsal. So everybody arriving should feel comfortable about what goes where and what we come in and all of that stuff. So I'll be reminding everybody at dress rehearsal, please don't forget, I want you guys to arrive in your first costume. Now, what should they have with them? We kind of went over that already. They should have very little with them. The more they have with them, the more that is they have to remember to come back to the dance room at the end of the show and pick up whatever they had. So it is okay to do like a water bottle, of course, that's fine. Or maybe they, if it's cold, maybe they've had a jacket, something like that. So it's not that they can't bring anything, but when we ask you to get your group lined up and bring them into the kitchen get in the queue, then we don't want them to bring any of that stuff. So all of the water bottle, a jacket, anything like that will stay in the room that they checked into. So they should have, very little with them, but it's dependent. But we do get a lot of things left at this show, because once they get picked up in the auditorium and hang out, they usually forget to go back and get their other stuff. So that can be an issue. Yes. So how I'm going to restate the question. Oh, you guys can all see it. Never mind. Oh, but I don't know if they can on the replay. But anyway, how will groups and performers be grouped in the room? Will volunteers know where to corral the performer per number? Yes. So when you guys arrive, what you'll see, for instance, on the dance room door, well, I'm going to use the exercise room as an example, because this is Bianca's helping out with our Wonka cast, which is fantastic. So yes, on the door to the exercise room, it will say Wonka cast, and then it will list everybody on the who needs to be in that room. So that way when kids are looking for where to report, they go, oh, there's the Wonka cast, there's my name. And then the volunteer's name will be there too. So you guys will go into the room, and then you're basically looking at that list and checking off. Okay, we've got so-and-so checked in, so-and-so checked in, and going through like that. So basically, I will be kind of roaming. I make my way through all the rooms, and I might be stopping by and going, okay, do we have all of Hip Hop Crew here? Okay, do we have everybody from the Wonka cast? You know, and pretty much, I mean, things happen. So occasionally, not very often, but you might not have somebody come in who's on the list, and you never know with that one. The show must go on. We go on stage. You know, maybe there's been, you know, maybe last year what it was is I came home to emails that said they came down really sick, and so we didn't want to go, you know, with the rest of the group or something like that. So occasionally that will happen. Oops. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so you just look at the list, and that's your group that you're volunteering with, and then just making sure. And then they just sort of, and usually in the exercise room, all of the musical theater, Broadway Bound kids are in there, my hip hop tots and my hip hop crew. That's usually exercise room is hip hop theater, and usually the dance room is for Storybook Ballet, all about dance, you know, which is basically ballet and jazz in that room. So yeah. Since I'm volunteering, will I be grouped with my daughter, or will she be with another volunteer? Yeah, so all parents who volunteer will be assigned to their own child's class, definitely, yes. So, and I have plenty of volunteers for Storybook. We have more than enough, so we had a great amount of volunteers, which is great. But yes, now you guys will be in the same room, but it will be, you know, Storybook is here, and they've got maybe 5 volunteers, and then we've got Jazz over here, and they've got 3 volunteers. So it'll be multiple groups within the room, maybe 2, maybe 3 groups in each room, and then their group of volunteers. And yes, you'll always be with your child. No, I wouldn't say that volunteers need to check in each performer upon their arrival. I would say that, as you know, what'll happen is that they're all kind of going to come at one time. And so what I will do is there's, you know, chairs around the room. So you want to start getting all of the groups separated. So, okay, theater over here by me, all my theater kids come sit here. If you're in Wonka, you should be sitting against this wall. And then you're going through and, like I said, checking them off, counting them. Okay, I'm supposed to have, you know, 31 for Wonka and, you know, 14 for Jazz, things like that. So yeah, just making sure that they're all there. And then what I do in that case, so every class has at least 3 volunteers. And so that gives us enough to always make sure that there's a volunteer that can take a child to the restroom, or, you know, can go if needed, but that still leaves volunteers there to be with the kids, because once they're dropped off, the volunteers you need to stay with them. But there's always that extra volunteer that, okay, if one goes and takes a child to the restroom, we've still got 2 watching the group and things like that. So, yeah, so that should be fine. The other thing I was going to say is not for, well, I can't say that for sure. I do have a Storybook dancer that does hip hop tots and Storybook, but there are a handful of dancers, and they are in more than one dance. Now, that doesn't necessarily, or in more than one class. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're in more, how do I say that? So even though they're in more than one class, it doesn't mean that they have 2 dances in one show. For instance, if a student is in Broadway Bound and hip hop, they might be separated. So maybe they're on, you know, Broadway Bound on Wednesday and hip hop is on Thursday. So it may not be that they are performing in the same show, but sometimes kids are in the same show with more than one dance. So on your paper that you have, that you will arrive, you know, when you arrive, you'll see your list. Whoever is highlighted in yellow, that means that they have a secondary number. So what we do in that case is they're going to have their first costume on. They're going to have their second costume with them. And I've talked to the parents of kids that have multiple dances. They bring those costumes. It goes over their chair so they know where it is. And then as volunteers, what you guys make sure is that, you know, okay, so we've got, you know, 16 kids and we've got 2 that are going to be changing after this dance. So as you guys get them on and off stage, then, you know, all the kids that are done with their dance can go sit in the auditorium, but then you'll have to make sure that, and we coordinate with not just the volunteer whose class they're coming from, but we coordinate with the volunteer of the other class they're going into, if that makes sense. So we will have all that organized beforehand, but you will make sure, like, you'll know, oh, we have a class that has, you know, kids have to get changed. So one volunteer stays with the kids in the auditorium until it's time to take their bows. And then another volunteer, okay, let's go get into your next costume. And at the same time, you're also going to have a volunteer from that other class going, okay, you did your ballet. We got to get you into your hip hop now. So it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally kids have to change costumes mid-show. So usually they're separated, but some students take 4 classes. And so they're bound to end up having more than one dance in a show. But we've not had an issue in the past. It just takes good communication, as long as, you know, the volunteers understand. And what I try to do in that instance is that I connect you guys before the show. So I'll come into the room and say, okay, this is, you know, so-and-so. And I usually make sure that everybody knows, you know, this is your student that you need to make sure gets in her hip hop costume. So you see her, this is her name, it's highlighted, here's her costume, name's on the costume. So we kind of have a little powwow about that before the show starts, just to make sure that everything's good. I also have it on my list before as I'm running the show, I have that marked in my show notes so that I know, okay, so-and-so needs to change after this number. So as I'm looking for them in the next dance, I make sure that that student is there and has had time to change costumes. So, but you will know, if most of Storybook, no, most of hip hop, no, but quite a few kids are in that are in the hip hop crew. I have some of those kids are in jazz, some are in ballet, some are in Broadway Bound. So if they take more than one class, you could have a student that needs to do a costume change. And for the costume changes, they do not change in the exercise room or the dance room. So the only place that you can take them to change, unless they have on undergarments, which I always recommend, but they just go into the restroom, and they're usually old enough so they can go in the big stall in the back and change themselves. But I tell them that they should just have on undergarment. That I also went over with that at the parent meeting. I will reiterate that to the parents whose kids have a costume change. It's so easy if they just wear a tan leotard underneath, because it doesn't matter. It's layers. You just off with the ballet and on with the hip hop, and I can change right here, you know, and I'm still covered. So we have talked about getting them the proper undergarments for their changes. Okay, let's see. Yes, emergency backup snacks and water. So in the kitchen where I'm sort of stationed on the doorway that's from the kitchen onto where we have the stage area, I do have an emergency box. It has emergency small waters, little packs of Goldfish, Kleenex, paper towels. It also has an accident kit. So I keep a kit in the dance room for myself, for my littles who sometimes don't tell me in time that they need to use the restroom. It has plastic gloves. It has Clorox disinfectant wipes. It has paper towels, an extra bag, everything you need to clean up an unexpected mess. And I've used it. So I have that. And if you guys need it, come to me to find the kitchen. If there's some little one that forgot a water and they're parched, or, you know, we need a snack or something like that, I always have emergency stuff. I have tissues. It's the same boxes that I put together when we do our big shows at Citrus College that I actually give those to the volunteers, and the volunteers take care of those. But sorry. Oh, sorry. Somebody's lonely. But I will just keep one. It's too many rooms for me to fill 5 rooms full of those emergency boxes, but it will be in the kitchen. If you guys want to come check out where it is beforehand, great. But just know that I do have an emergency kit with various things in it if you guys need. And then, so when it's your turn, when it's your classes or your group's turn to line up, what'll happen is I have one of my runners come to the room and just say, hey, I need, this group to come line up now. And so you guys will just follow the crowd. It's very easy. You can see where everybody lines up down the hallway through the kitchen. And basically you're just staying with the group, making sure that they're quiet. Once they get into the kitchen, they do need to be quiet because the door is open and the audience can hear. And so we're trying to keep them quiet. Keep all that good nervous energy that they're excited about. And then when they go on stage, my parent volunteers, you guys are more than welcome. There's kind of a way when we start to get them out on stage, what I recommend for you guys to do, and I'll show you this at rehearsal too, is kind of sneak through this little makeshift curtain that I put up and kind of sneak back to the back of the auditorium and find a place where you can watch them from the auditorium. You can stay with me on the very side, but it's really far on the side. Like it's hard to see them from the front from where I watch. So I'll show you guys at dress rehearsal how to sneak around so that you can go to the back of the auditorium and stand up and watch them. You can kind of sneak all the way around to where you'll be picking them up and watch them for sure. Yeah. And just so you guys know, my ushers as well should know that I do allow people to take pictures and video. I ask that they do not use selfie sticks or tripods. Tripods, I really worry about them getting knocked over because we have groups coming round and round that auditorium all night long. So I could fully see it getting kicked over by one of our dancers who's trying to, stay with the group and sit down and watch the rest of the show. And just people making their way to try to get to a spot where they can see their child to videotape. So tripods don't work great. Selfie sticks can get in people's way. But I certainly tell people if they need to adjust, if you want to sneak down in that aisle and sit down to get that great video, I'm okay with that. In my opinion, if everybody just works together and lets everybody sort of shift around when their child's on stage to get that great picture or video, I don't think anybody would have an issue with that. Yeah, as long as everybody's just being courteous, that's what I'm thinking. So yes, but you guys should certainly come and watch your student. So they're dancing on stage. It's a little hard to explain now, but I'll explain it. But I mainly do this at our dress rehearsal. So you let them, I'll help them get on stage, and then you guys can walk around the back of the auditorium, watch them, and then they actually come off stage on the other side. So you've made your way around, and then as they come off stage, you're sort of catching them, if that makes sense. So they come on from one side, you'll go on and watch them, and then they'll make their way off on the other side. And you're there to greet them. And then you'll take them back around the back of the auditorium. They don't go back to the exercise room. They don't go back to the dance room. It's, as I said, it's a short show. And by the time we were to get, 20 storybook ballerinas all the way through the auditorium and back to the dance room, we'd be saying, hey, you guys, come on back again to take your bows. So it doesn't make any sense to have the kids leave the auditorium once they've performed. So in the very back of the auditorium, there's a side area. There's some corner areas that have a lot of space. And we just kind of have them sit down and they get to watch the rest of the show. It is hard because they are in the back of the auditorium. I tell them it's okay if they stand up as long as they're not blocking any of the audience members. The shorter kids can try to stand up and see. But they can usually catch a little bit of a glimpse of some of the dances. Yeah, so then you guys are just in the auditorium with them. And you guys are just kind of keeping them in one spot, knowing that as soon as the picture montage is done playing, I'm going to have the students come back up to take their bows. So, and then let's see. And then that, like I said, that would be the time where if a student has to change, they obviously couldn't go in the back and watch the show. They would go to get their other costume on. But it doesn't really end up being that long that they're sitting back there because, as I said, it's a short show. So let's see. Do you have a tentative timesheet for when each group is performing the day of? Not so much. I mean, you can figure it's about 9 or 10 dances, and each dance is about 2.5 minutes. So I don't break it down that much. I do on the longer show when we do like a 2-hour show with intermission, but no, it just depends. You can figure 3 minutes, figure 3 minutes a dance. So the first dance is over at 5:03, 5:06, 5:09, and you can go on from there and try to time it. But yeah, it's the whole show ends up being about a 35-minute show. And that's to get through 9 dances, a photo presentation, and a curtain call. So yeah. But it's all quick. The 5 o'clock show, it's usually done by 5:35, and then the 6:30 show is usually done by maybe 10 after 7, something like that. So all right, so going on. So then as you're with your students in the auditorium, you're going to have, I'm going to do a picture montage that I do every year, a photo montage. And so while that's playing, then you know that we're at the end of the show. So once the pictures start, the show is over. And what we're doing while the pictures are on is we're making sure our kids are ready to go up on stage. And it's casual. I just get up on the stage with the mic and I just say, thanks, you've been a great audience. Could I please have all of my dancers up on stage? And so if you're volunteering for littles, 4 and 5-year-olds, they will need to help be escorted up to the stage. If your kiddos are, my intermediate dancers, if they're, I know pretty much my kids who are 8 and 9 and up, they get it. They know what to do. They can just, get up on stage themselves. But it's, it is a little bit of a tight squeeze, but you guys are welcome to go up with them. If they're littles, I would stay with them for sure. If they're my storybooks, my hip hop tots, I would stay right with them. So then they come back up on stage. We've practiced it in class. They all sit down together. I thank the audience. And then I have each group, when I call the name of their dance, they stand up, they wave, they take a bow. We give them their proper applause. And then at the end of the show, what I've told all the students to do during class is do not leave the stage. Stay with Miss Katie. Stay with your parent volunteers. And no matter what age group you have at the end, I would like you guys to be with your students, because I've told the kids, stay on the stage. It makes it so much more simple when the kids all stay on the wood stage and their grown-up comes to find them, rather than us let the kids just disperse in the auditorium. So I have told the kids over and over, you do not leave the wood stage. We stay with your volunteers, stay with Miss Katie, wait until we see your grown-up. So as a group effort, we're sort of making sure that they're on the wood stage, and that let the grown-ups and the families come to you. And then the volunteers stay with their kids, oh, okay, I see your grown-up. Yes, great. You're here with so-and-so. That's great. And so we excuse the students from the stage. At that point, try to let parents know, hey, if you had a jacket, the water bottle, you'll need to go pick that up in the dance room. That doesn't come into the auditorium. So again, anything that they've brought, you can help remind them, make sure you go pick up any belongings that might have been left, or their street shoes or anything like that are still in the dance room. Another thing that happens at the end of the show is I give out show treats. So it kind of helps when I tell the kids, okay, you guys, it's time to get our end of show treats. It keeps them focused on me. It keeps them focused on staying on the stage, which is helpful, because as a volunteers, you guys want a minute to let everybody know, okay, we're going to excuse the kids, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And I will remind parents, parents, please be patient while we check out your student and get, everybody to where they need to go. But you will need to find your student up here on stage. They're not going out to the auditorium. So I'll try to help with that as well. But the show treat keeps the kids focused on staying on stage. And I've told them they're getting their treat. They got 2 things last year. So last year I had a helper, and we kind of each had a bucket, and they were able to come up to us and each get a couple of little things. But it just gives them something to do while they're waiting, because it is quite crowded in the auditorium. People are making their way through, trying to find their student and so forth. The other thing that happens at the end is this year we have Nutcracker soloists. So they're dressed up in their variation costumes. So very fancy sugar plum princess, you could say, with big crowns and so forth. And so they will be by the pink Christmas tree taking family photos too. So if you guys want to do that, or just so you know that that's happening, I'm going to tell I'm going to tell the audience that as well. Hey, you guys, if you would like a picture with our Land of Sweet soloist over by the tree, you guys can line up for family photos. And everybody can be taking pictures and meeting Sugar Plum Fairy and things like that. So that's a fun thing. And there's a really cute backdrop too. So it's a great picture opportunity. We have a little bit more time at the end of the 6:30 shows because we're not trying to clear out the audience to get the second seating done. But at the end of the second shows, it's really fun because lots of pictures we can take in front of the cool backdrop. It's the land of, it's the season of sweets. So it looks like a holiday candy land is what I'm going to be going for on that one. So at that point, I just ask that you guys just stay with your group, wait for the grownups to come and pick them up. And then that's about it as far as the volunteering duties go. And as far as my ushers go, once the show is started, you're welcome to just be in the back of the auditorium. If it looks like somebody needs assistance, if it looks like someone's, coming in and is looking for a place to sit or looking for another party, something like that. But usually once the show starts, you guys can just be inside the double doors and just watch the show. Looking on my notes here. Let's see. At the end. Yeah. Okay. Something else that I thought of that I'm going to try to think of. Let me think. So we talked about pictures. Oh, I know what it was. So our dress rehearsal is Tuesday, December 9th. The schedule has been sent out, and I will resend out that schedule. I'll remind everybody about that. But what I would like to do is to make sure that the volunteers are helping on the night of rehearsal, because what I like to say is that's like a rehearsal for you guys as well. Because it just kind of helps to get a feel for it, just like the kids. We want the kids to have a chance to be on the real stage, see what I mean when I say wait, you're going to wait in the kitchen, things like that. So if you are volunteering, then I kind of feel like having you guys at the dress rehearsal is super important, because it just that way, not only can you guys get a feel for it, but the students can start knowing like, oh, that's my parent volunteer. And I've been telling them, I have my list with me. So I've been telling them, today in hip hop, oh, we're going to get to have, Emma's mom helping us, and we're going to get to have Valentina's mom help, so I'm letting them know, like, this is who you're looking for, and this is so great. We've got these helpers that are going to be there to help us. So they really need to be able to tune into you guys and know that when I'm not around, that I expect them to be really great listeners for you guys, and to look to you guys for if they have questions or need help. So yes, if you guys could make sure at the rehearsal to just do exactly, same thing. I will get to rehearsal. You'll be with your group. I'll let the group know, oh, these are your parent volunteers. They're here to help you. This is so great. And then we will walk. You guys can walk with us, because I like to show the kids, this is how we're going to go. We're going to walk from the dance room. So we'll start at the dance room. Hey, let's walk through the kitchen. We take them through the kitchen. And if you guys are there, it just helps you to get a feel for the flow of the show as well. And I can show you guys how you guys can watch them when they're on stage. And then, how you're going to get them from the other side of the stage. It's a little tricky. It's a little skinny exit that we have. I do put some rubber arrows on the floor that kind of help the kids, and we've been practicing with those rubber arrows, so they kind of know where to look for them. But it's an informal presentation. So it's, we do what works. It's just I really just like it to be a fun, sort of feel good, let's all get in the holiday spirit kind of, atmosphere. Don't take ourselves super seriously on this one. We just have a great time. Not as much of the tech behind it, like our citrus show that we do in the spring, because we just make it work. But it's a different vibe of a show. It's a little more informal, but always very different from our spring show, because it's more intimate. It's a little more heartfelt, because we're, trying to touch on the holiday spirit, and, just, I don't know. It's just a different feel. So great things about both shows. But one of the things about the show is that it is slightly more informal. So for instance, if you're a helper for the storybook class, then, I will be asking you guys to stay with me, and let's get them on stage. So, the parents, I definitely have you guys help me out, because the storybook dancers do use the colored dots. So before they go out for Lollipop, I will be putting down the dots, and we will be walking them across. And I'm just one person. So if I try to get them all out there, it'll take another 10 minutes. So when I say you guys like line them up and help me get them on stage, you really do. You really walk them out there, make sure they're on their dots. I always have my formations right in my hand too. So if they get out of line for you from the lineup that I give you, don't panic because I always double check it. But yeah, so for the storybook families and our volunteers, just know that yes, you will be getting out there and helping me get the kids out on the dots. As far as the littles go, my gummy bear dancers are even smaller than my storybooks. They're my littles, but their parents dance on stage with them, so they don't need any help getting on stage. So, okay, I think. Oh, if you are a volunteer for a group that has props, so that would be storybook. They have their lollipops. I don't think we have a lot of props for this show, but yeah, we always wait to give them their props until right before they go on stage. So we will be practicing with them, of course, but just so you guys know, I'm not sending lollipops home. They don't go home with them. They'll have them at dress rehearsal. Then they stay with me at dress rehearsal. Then they literally get their lollipop. They're lined up in the kitchen, and then we pass them out right before they go on, because so many things can happen to a lollipop between the dance room and the stage. Now, when they're done with performing on stage, they can keep it with them because that is theirs to keep at the end of the show. However, I do recommend, if you're volunteering for the storybooks and they have lollipops, I recommend collecting them back from them, holding on to them, and then letting them hang out in the auditorium, watch the show, do their bows without them. Because inevitably, if they're trying to hang on to that from the time that they get off stage until they take their bows, it may get broken, it may get lost, and things like that. So you may want to collect those back again, hold on to them, and then as they're leaving, we can announce, don't forget, lollipop dancers, pick up your lollipop. So yeah, just because that could be tricky. So I can't think of much else what to say. And I was hoping to stop at 9, so I didn't want to talk everybody's ear off. So, okay, it's 9 o'clock. That wasn't too bad. I think some more things might come up. As I said, if you're watching on the replay, just go ahead and email me. I really fill you guys fill you in a lot at the dress rehearsal. Another time that I could use your help to my backstage volunteers would be at the last class. So if you guys wouldn't mind, I usually come out and grab you anyway, but the last class, I like you guys to come in and just see the dance, see how I'm getting them on and off stage. Sometimes I have little tricks that I say, that just might remind them of what they need to do. So yeah, I'll probably be asking my volunteer moms to come in for the last class. It's good for you guys to kind of get to see the group and get to know what they're doing as well. So, all right. Well, with that, this little guy wants to go on a walk. Yeah, say hi, Spirit. This is Spirit. Say hi. He's lonely. So I got home and I ignored him because I had to get to the meeting. So he's a little mad at me. So it looks like we're going on a dog walk now. So anyway, thanks again, you guys. If there's any other questions, let me know. I'm sure I'll think of something as soon as I press stop. I usually do, but I will go ahead and be sending you guys out a wrap up from our meeting as well. So, all right. Thank you, Tracy. Thanks. Have a good night too. If I don't see you guys, have a great Thanksgiving. We have no classes next week. So enjoy your week next week, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, Amber. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice night. We got to go. He's not having it anymore. Thank you. Thanks, Carly. Thanks, Jasmine. Thank you, Bianca. Great having you guys. Appreciate you. Take care.